Welcome back. So in this particular session, let's learn about insert ignore statement. Insert ignore statement allows you to disregard the rows containing invalid data that would otherwise trigger an error, and so it will ignore all such rows and only insert the rows that contains the valid data. To perform this, so let's create a new table altogether. I'm just creating a new table called subscribers. So the subscribers table has two columns. One is the ID, subscriber ID, and which is a primary key and which has an auto increment. And the next one that you have an email. So that should not be null, and it is an unique email that we should have into this subscribers table. So using this table, let's try to learn how we can write the insert ignore statements. For now, as the first statement, let's start inserting a test email and see how it is working. So when you see test email has been inserted successfully, and when you select star from subscribers, right? So when you look for the subscribers table, you have only one test email into that, right? So if you want to insert the two emails again, right? So multiple rows that you want to insert, you can. But what will happen if you try to insert, right? It's failed. Why it is failed? It's failed duplicate entry test@email.com. So this test@email.com has a duplicate entry. That's why the record insertion has been failed. So this is what is actually the problem. Whenever you are inserting the data, when you are getting the data from different systems and inserting into a table, you don't know what kind of elements that you have, and you want to ignore some of the data. So in such scenario, what you do, you use a keyword called ignore. So what it does, insert ignore, what it does, it shows a warning to you when you are inserting the records. That warning says duplicate entry test, but the record execution, whatever the test2 at email.com, this record has been successfully inserted into the database. So test and test2 has been inserted. What happened is this is kind of disregarded the record which is causing the issue, and it's inserted the rest of the records that we have in the table. Okay, so and if you want to see some of the same scenario where I'm getting another query where I have a max length, right? So if you go and see, the length of the email should be 30 characters. And if what happens if I give an email which has more than 30 characters? So if what is happening is data too long for column email at row 1, right? The similar way, I would say, like I would take multiple emails. Let's take this is something like this length, this has something like this length, right? So and you are trying to insert the multiple rows which has the error. So what will happen here, it is kind of an error. It's saying that data too long for column email at row 3, right? So at the same time, what we do is, if you want to ignore the records whatever is causing the issue, so then probably I'll use insert ignore, right? When I use the insert ignore will go and ignore the records that has the issue, and the rest of the records will be inserted into the table column. So if you see the test@gmail.com test2 and the three records that we are talking about, all those three records have been inserted into this the subscribers table. Okay, so that is how the things will work. But auto increment has some kind of an inconsistency, because some of the records, some of the insert statements got failed, but auto increment has already happened. So that's why you see some kind of an issues with the auto increment that we did on this particular table, right? So to see the summary, so you will use the insert you'll use the MySQL insert ignore statement to insert the rows into a table and ignore the errors for the rows that cause the issues. So that's how the insert ignore will be helpful in case of the inserting the data into the table, right? And you can also do one more thing. You can insert the record when you have a duplicate key update statement. So for example, I am trying to insert a record which has 10, right? So for example, I am inserting a record and which key is 10. What will happen in this case? In this case, it will fail because the primary key 10, which is already existing. When you have that primary key value that is already existing, it is not allowing to enter. But what we can do, right? So what we can do is, when you have the primary key statement existing, you can also use the on duplicate key update. So whenever you find a duplicate key, in the duplicate key you will go and update the record into the table. So that basically what will happen is, the employee name, what I'm trying to do, employee name is just updating to Peter John 2. If the record is Peter John, record 10 is Peter John. I don't know whether record 10 is Peter John or not, but I'm trying to update it whenever I found the duplicate key. Before we go here, what we'll do, let's try to see what is the record we have. Select a star from employee where employee ID is equals to 10, right? So if you look into this record Sophia Moore. Sophia Moore is the record that we have, and she is a support specialist. I just want to change her name to Peter John, so at the same time, right? So what will happen in this case, basically, when the record is 10, record 10, now it is inserted successfully, and the record has been updated to Peter John. The name has been updated to Peter John. If you go and search, so it has been updated to Peter John, and you have, if you want to update multiple rows, yes, you can do that. So employee name you did, and designation, I think you can give a manager designation, and if you want to do another one, department, I think you can even change the department. You can use IT, right? So if you go and update this Peter John, again it will update Peter John, and it will update the record, everything. And if you go and fetch all the columns that we have in the table have been updated, but the employee ID doesn't change. That's how the duplicate key update will help us in inserting the records into the database. We'll stop here and we'll continue on the next session in the coming video. Thank you for watching.